Katha Upanishad, Chapter 1, Section 3. Ritam pibantau sukritasya loke guham pravishtau parame parardhe chaya tapau brahmavido vadanti panchaganyo ye cha trinachiketaah यः सेतुर्ईजानानम् अक्षरं ब्रह्म यत् परम् अभयं तितिर्षतां पारं नचिकेतं शकेमहि. So, in the following two verses, Yamraj is finally dissecting the innermost mysterious being that we call as Atma. So, in the verse number 1, Pibantau means two selves that drink. Sukritasya means world of two deeds. Loke guham, that means within the cave of the body, inside the heart. Pravishto means having entered. Parardhe means place where Brahma is found. Chhaya tapau, shade and light. Vadanti means speaking. Brahmavido, knowers of Brahma knowledge. So here in verse number 1, Yamraj says that there are two selves inside us. Pibanto means two selves that drink or enjoy the fruits of good karma. And both these selves live inside our heart. Loke guham pravishto. Those who know Brahma and as also those who perform the Panch Agni and the triple Nachiketa sacrifice speak of these two selves as shade and light. So to put it very simply, Yamraj is talking about the two selves inside us. That is individual self and supreme self. Individual self is Jivatma and supreme self is Paramatma. Both are in close relation with each other like the two sides of a coin, or like the light and shadow analogy given here. So let's ignore the second line that talks about the sacrificial practices. So then this verse means that the Atma is a part of, or it is a reflection of Paramatma. By good karma and by meditating upon this Jivatma, we can realize Paramatma. So by meditating upon our own individual self, we can reach the Supreme Self. And the one who finally knows the Supreme Self can attain any world he desires. In verse number 2, Yah means this, Setur means bridge. Ijananam means those who sacrifice. Aksharam means something that does not die, imperishable. Abhayam means to the fearless shore, to the other side. Shakemahi means may we master. So here in verse number 2, Yamraj says that may we all master this knowledge of Nachiketa. This knowledge that acts as a bridge between this world and the fearless shore or the world beyond. That is the Brahmalok. It is said that in the beginning the sky and the earth were one. They became separated by sea of time and space. Samsara Sagar. So this bridge holds the world apart and also unites. This exact verse is elaborated in detail in Chandogya Upanishad, where it is mentioned that this self, this Atma inside us, that is the bridge that helps in uniting these two worlds, our world and the world beyond, that is the Brahmalok. Over that bridge, it is believed that there is neither day or night, nor old age, nor death, nor sorrow, nor evil. On crossing that bridge, if one is blind, he remains no longer blind. If one is wounded, he is no longer wounded. There, night appears as day because the world of Brahma is always lighted. So basically, to put it in short, Jivatma is a reflection of Paramatma, just like a sun is reflected in 1,000 spots of water. And by deep meditation upon this Atma, one can cross over to the world of Brahma, where there is only bliss and unlimited freedom. Atmanam rathitam vidhi shariram rathamev tu buddhim tu sarathim vidhi manah pragahamev cha indriyani hayan ahur vishayamaste sugocharan atmen indriya manoyuktam bhoktetya ahur manishinaha. Now here the two verses are talking about the metaphorical comparison between man and chariot. So here in verse number 3, Atmanam Rathitam, this means Atma or the self is like the rider of the chariot. The self is the traveler, rider of the chariot, Rathitam. Shariram Rathamevatu. Shariram means this body is like the chariot, Rathamev. Buddhim tu Sarathim. Buddhi or the intellect is the driver of the chariot, is the Sarathi, driver of the chariot. Manaha Pragaha Meva. And the mind, Manaha means mind, is like the reins controlling the horses. Pragaha Mev means reins by which the senses are controlled. So this self or Atma is a traveler that changes bodies over time. Whichever body this Atma takes, that becomes the chariot. And this chariot or the body is driven by the sense organs, Indriya, by the sense organs that are directed by the mind or manas. Par man to chanchal hota hai. So this mind also needs to be controlled by a higher authority, and that is intellect or buddhi. So this is the complete analogy of the chariot and man. To put it very simply, Atma or the self is the rider of the chariot. The body itself is the chariot. Intellect, especially the determination, that is the driver of the chariot. Mind act as the reins of the chariot, and the sense organs are the horses. And where is this chariot going? The destination is the world of Brahma. So this chariot is just the vehicle. The body is just the vehicle. It's the driver of this chariot who should be intelligent enough to know the way. And this is our intellect, our determination. And this is how the word yoga or yoga originated. It means to harness, to completely discipline the mind and body. So in the fourth verse, Indriyani Hayan. Indriyani means the sense organs. Hayan means horses. Atmen Indriya Manoyuktam. This is a combination of Atma, that is self, plus sense organs, plus the mind. So this entire complex is the enjoyer. Bhokteti, that is enjoyer. That's what wise people say. Manishinaha, wise ones say that. So it is said that the horses are the sense organs that are directed by the mind. And this Atma, sense organs plus mind complex, is the enjoyer. So this verse, number 4, is the continuation of the previous verse where it talks about the analogy of the chariot. This higher intellect which we are talking about is the driver that will guide us to the world of Brahma. Like in Mahabharata, where Sri Krishna is the driver of the chariot and directing that chariot towards the right path. So it is with us. It is our higher intellect that we need to awaken. That will guide us in the right direction. And this can be done first by moral and ethical cleansing. We need to be moral, we need to be ethical first, followed by discipline and regular meditation, as was explained in the earlier verses. Yastva vijnanavan bhavataya yukten manasa sada tasyenindriyani avashyani dushtasva eva sarthe. Yastu vijnanavan bhavati yukten manasa sada tasyenindriyani vashyani sadashva eva sartheha. Now these two shlokas, they are talking about the metaphorical chariot here. So in the first verse, which says, Yastu avijnanavan, he who has no understanding. Yastva means he who has no understanding. Avijnanavan, whose mind is always uncontrolled. Manasa, mind. Sada means always. Ayuktena means uncontrolled. His senses are out of control. Tasye indriyani avashyani. Avashyani means out of control. Indriyani means the senses. Dushtashva means wicked horses. So wicked horses are there for that charioteer. Saratheha. So this is exactly the state in which we normal humans are in most of the times, aren't we? Having an uncontrolled mind, lack of discipline, and then such a mind is unable to control the senses that run here and there after never-ending desires. Our senses just keep on running for gratification of desires, and we finally end up in suffering. In the verse number 6, Yastu vijnanavan bhavati, he who has understanding, vijnanavan, whose mind is always restrained. Manasa sada, manasa means mind, sada means always, restrained, yuktena. Tasye indriyani, vashyani. His senses are under control. Indriyani are under control. Vashyani. Sadashva means good horses. So good horses are there for that charioteer, for that sarathiha. This verse gives the description of an ideal spiritual state where the person's higher intellect is working, and thus he is able to control his mind, which in turn becomes perfectly fit to guide the senses. This results in self-control that ends in complete freedom of self finally. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 2, Shlok number 66, it is mentioned that for a person who has no higher intellect which can guide him to meditate upon his Atma, that person will never find peace. And then, how can happiness come to that person who has no peace? If you want, you can refer to other verses in Bhagavad Gita. In chapter 2, verses from 64 to 68, they are very beautiful and they are related and similar to these two verses. Yasva avigyanvan bhavataya manaskah sada shuchihi na sa tatpadam apnoti samsaram chadhi gacchati. Yastu vigyanvan bhavati samanaskah sada shuchihi sa tu tatpadam apnoti yasmat bhuyo na jayate. So in shlok number 7, it is spoken by Yamaraj, it means he who has no understanding, yastva avigyanavan, having no understanding, whose mind is uncontrollable, amanaskaha, who is impure, always, sada means always, impure, ashuchiha, reaches not that goal, na sa tat padam apnoti, padam means goal, apnoti means reaching or obtaining that goal, samsaram chadhi gacchati, and comes back into this world of life and death. So here, Yamraj in this shlok is describing as to what happens when one's mind is uncontrollable and the thoughts are impure. So, when the driver of the chariot has no understanding, has no insight into what is wrong and what is right, the higher goal is never achieved. And this person continues to return to this cycle of life and death. So, without the higher intellect, that is buddhi, this chariot keeps on moving aimlessly. According to Shastras, there are 6 impurities of mind. Kama, that is desire, Krodh meaning anger, Moha meaning delusion, mistaking this body for the self, Mada means arrogance, Lobha is greed, and Matsarya is envy. So when our mind is impure, having these impurities, we cannot achieve the higher goal. So in verse number 8, he says, he, however, who has understanding, yastu vigyanavan. Vigyanavan means having understanding, having a higher insight, who has control over his mind. Samanaskaha means controlled mind, and who is pure, always pure, sada shuchihi. Sa tu tat padam apnoti, that person reaches the goal from which he is never born again. Yasmad bhuyo na jayate. Bhuyo means again, jayate means born, na means no, so he is not born again. So in this verse, Yamaraj is saying that whose mind is under control, who has insight and can differentiate between Shreya and prayer, whose thoughts are pure, that person can reach the higher goal and does not fall back into the cycle of life and death. He gets liberated. Once we are able to train our mind to discriminate between right and wrong through meditation, once we are able to purify our minds by daily habits, only then can we rein in our horses, that is our sense organs, and achieve the higher goals for which we have been born. Yastva avigyanvan bhavataya manaskah sada shuchihi na sa tatpadam apnoti samsaram chadhigacchati. Yastu vigyanvan bhavati samanaskah sada shuchihi sa tu tatpadam apnoti yasmat bhuyo na jayate. So in shlok number 7, it is spoken by Yamaraj, it means he who has no understanding, yastva avijnanavan, having no understanding, whose mind is uncontrollable, amanaskaha, who is impure, always, sada means always, impure, ashuchiha, reaches not that goal. Na sa tat padam apnoti. Padam means goal. Apnoti means reaching or obtaining that goal. Samsaram chadhi gacchati. And comes back into this world of life and death. So here, Yamraj in this shlok is describing as to what happens when one's mind is uncontrollable and the thoughts are impure. So, when the driver of the chariot has no understanding, has no insight into what is wrong and what is right, the higher goal is never achieved. And this person continues to return to this cycle of life and death. So, without the higher intellect, that is buddhi, this chariot keeps on moving aimlessly. According to Shastras, there are 6 impurities of mind. Kama, that is desire. Krodh, meaning anger. Moha, meaning delusion, mistaking this body for the self. Mada means arrogance. Lobha is greed and Matsarya is envy. So when our mind is impure, having these impurities, we cannot achieve the higher goal. So in verse number 8, he says, he, however, who has understanding, yastu vijnanavan. Vijnanavan means having understanding, having a higher insight, who has control over his mind. Samanaskaha means controlled mind, and who is pure, always pure, sada shuchihi. Sa tu tat padam apnoti. That person reaches the goal from which he is never born again. Yasmad bhuyo na jayate. Bhuyo means again, jayate means born. Na means no, so he is not born again. So in this verse, Yamaraj is saying that whose mind is under control, who has insight and can differentiate between Shreya and Preya, whose thoughts are pure, that person can reach the higher goal and does not fall back into the cycle of life and death. He gets liberated. Once we are able to train our mind to discriminate between right and wrong through meditation, once we are able to purify our minds by daily habits, only then can we rein in our horses, that is our sense organs, and achieve the higher goals for which we have been born.